Um, right. So, Age of Darkness, chapter Forgotten Sons, part two. It's the we left off with Persephone, the Artificer, and Hector, the Salamander's captain, encountering an Iron Warrior, defeating that Iron Warrior, and discovering the Iron Warrior's mission. And now Hector's on his way back because to the auditorium hall, or that's what I'm gonna call it. You know, because his instincts are telling him about there's going to be more danger, more attacks uh, occurring, and he decides that, or analyzes and decides that the auditorium is the best place he should be. So he runs back. Antigues is, feels, now we're back at the perspective of Antigues. He's thinking he's really losing the audience, and he's not going to be the winner of this argument. And he's just getting, and then some of the dialogue, and I don't have any quotes, but some of the dialogues is just his self-awareness of, his frustration is showing, uh, and he's so in his head. And then, so Hector runs back, jumps in front of the Horus's faction's remembrancer as gunshots, begin to fire into the crowd. Most of them are directed at the local enforcement. They're called marshals. So the local enforcement are being killed, and there's some more dialogue between there's some dialogue between Hector and Antigues about there's a bigger conspiracy going on, and the he gets the remembrancer gets to cover, he assists him into cover, and then they go in pursuit of this assassin. The assassin is described as dressed in the costume of a marshal, and they witness the assassin take down the other marshals with throwing knives and what looks like to be an elongated finger that extends and then retracts, and it's bladed or very sharp bone. They're in pursuit. They lose track of this. Well, they have a bit of a battle, where they wound this assassin, or the assassin. There's just description of, attack, defense, dodge, stuff like that. Anyway, so the which was a fun read. If it's just very sorry, I don't report it and all that. It's a very in character for what a 40K novel sounds like, in terms of the writing, and it's so the they lose track of this attacker. They're in pursuit again, and they discover that this attack, and then in the next encounter they discover this attacker can shapeshift, because now the assassin is a custodes, which causes some confusion, but then Antigues realizes or concludes it's an impossibility. a quote, he calls the Custodes the Emperor's lions. They'd never do something without the the Emperor's orders. That's a bad quote, but yeah. It's stuff like that, and he just doesn't. He thinks this is impossible for the Emperor's will, and his for the Emperor's decisions, and so they have another battle. You know, attack, dodge, defense, and they wound the assassin again, but the assassin escapes, and then what happens next was quite a fun read because it's described, narrated as the Hector and Antiges are having an argument about who should do the hunting. And Hector says, well, he thinks he should because Antiges actually has a lot of mechanical parts to his bodies. He was in something about his history was that he was injured in the campaign of Olenor, and that ever since he's been in basically a sleeping stasis pod after he was surgically replaced with many mechanical parts. His body was replaced with many mechanical parts. And then so they have a bit of a contest. They have a bit of a wrestling contest with and Hector wins. I mean, I was just thinking there was one of them was using a weapon, a sword, a short sword, but Hector defeats Antiges. He runs off in pursuit of the assassin, and this is all a trick, which is why it was a fun read, because then the next narration is the assassin coming to face Antiges, who is now seemingly alone. You know, they battle, and they battle, and then suddenly Hector just appears out of the shadows because he was always there. He didn't actually run in pursuit of the assassin. He just ran a little way and then hid. And when the assassin approached Antiges in this encounter, the assassin disguised itself as Hector. But Antiges wasn't fooled. Apparently, he noticed the differences in smell because Hector still smelled of ash and fire from the Stormbird destruction. Anyway, so at this moment, they finally defeat the assassin for good. And it turns out the assassin is a species of vampire, that a shape-shifting vampire species that has survived this history of great crusades, and now just this individual, as well as collect as a species, is usually motivated in their interactions with humans by revenge. Yeah, this was really just about revenge, about just knowing the importance of this diplomatic mission, and then just sabotaging it, hopefully for as much